Mr. Terry.
Hi.
Hi.
Uh,
So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very excited to do this interview, and your book, Alex Wise versus the End of the World, is what we're going to be talking about today. So could you start by telling us a bit more about the book and about yourself?
I am Terry J. Benton-Walker, and I am the
Yeah.
author of Alex Wise versus the End of the World. And I have been writing books professionally for a few years now, but I have been in love with stories and writing since I
Yeah.
was a young kid. I used to always love like fantasy stories, and I was one of the kids who um, did the summer reading club at the library, and I would read all of the books to get like the personal Pizza Hut pan coupons. And it was only a matter of time before I decided to become a professional writer myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what inspired you to write Alex Wise versus the End of the World?
So I have been a big fan of the Percy Jackson series as well as the Tristan Strong series. If you've read both of those and you've read Alex Wise, you can see why, you can see some of those influences there. And I have also been a huge fan of the X-Men ever since I was a small kid. And I'm watching X-Men 97 right now, and it's really, really cool to see. But I love the apocalypse storyline in X-Men, and what I loved the most about that was how they took the lore of the Four Horsemen and they kind of made it their own in that story. And I remember when the X-Men Apocalypse movie came out a few years ago, and I went to see it, and I left feeling like, man, I wish they had done so much more with like the Four Horsemen plot thread of like the whole apocalypse story. And so it's like, I want to try my hand at doing that as well. And so I decided to write a story where I could just completely reimagine the lore surrounding the Four Horsemen of the
Yeah.
Apocalypse. And that's how I came up with Alex Wise and his story.
Yeah. Um, so what inspired you to create the characters, the main characters, which are Alex, Lauren, Liam, and Dexter? And of course,
Yeah.
Max.
Yes, of course we can't forget Mags, right? So, these characters, it's a mixture of influences. Alex actually is one of the most special characters I've ever created because he represents a younger version of myself who was like trying to figure out like who he was and like where he belonged in the world and wasn't always treated with kindness and wasn't always loved and accepted. And I wanted to write a story where a character like Alex, who has a lot of the qualities that traditional society thinks are like weaknesses, and which become his superpowers, right? Alex gets the power of the sense in Alex Lives versus the End of the World, which is a form of empathic magic, which allows him to really tap into the emotions of the people around him.
To him, that's
And
probably the best power.
yeah, it's really cool, right?
Yeah.
Like that could be seen as a weakness, in our society by people like, especially young boys, being kind of soft and very emotional, or like in tune to the emotions of the people around them. And so I wanted to sort of flip that narrative on its head and make that Alex's superpower.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Lauren is Alex's best friend,
Yeah.
and she's a bit of his moral compass and his guide throughout this
Yeah.
story. And she provides like a lot of comic relief too.
Yeah.
Lauren is really good for cracking jokes throughout the story, especially when things can be like kind of
Yeah.
tense too.
Yeah. So what about Liam and Dexter? Plus
Yeah,
Max.
so Yeah, so Alex and Max's relationship is kind of similar to my relationship with my younger siblings. So I have a younger brother and a younger sister,
I
and
do too.
oh, really? Yeah, are
Yeah.
you the oldest?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough being the oldest sometimes, right? It's
Yeah.
like you gotta,
It's
it's
also
fun,
fun
but it
because
can,
you get the first experience with everything.
hmm yeah, it's fun, but it's also tough too, because like you gotta look out for them, like you gotta help take care of them. And so like I had that was my experience growing up is like this having like this really like nurturing relationship with my younger brother and sister. And my mom was a single mom and she divorced her and my dad divorced when I was 13. And I had to help out a lot with my brother and my sister. And like that was really stressful. And so that was what inspired the relationship between Alex and Max and Alex Wise versus the end of the world. And, it starts out and Alex is kind of feeling a bit overwhelmed with the responsibility of having to look out for his little sister. But then after death possesses her, he goes on this adventure and like his sole focus becomes
I
like trying
know.
to save his sister.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she's not that much of a she's not that he realizes that she's not that bad after all, sort of.
Yeah, and then like he realizes like how much he really like appreciated having her around, being able to
Yeah.
look out for her. And it's a really important message for kids like us who are the oldest, and sometimes it can be frustrating like having to help out and having this younger kid tagging along behind you who can be annoying sometimes, but you also love them really much. And like even though that can be frustrating, like you love them more than anything and you would do anything for them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And
Mm.
And then Liam is also a special character. Like, even though him and Alex don't really get along at first in the beginning, yeah, like they have a lot of similarities too. And just like Alex is searching for love and acceptance, Liam is on a similar path and searching for love and acceptance too after, being abandoned by his family and like and having to leave his world behind to go on this mission to protect Earth, which is a world that he knows absolutely nothing about.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he's extra grumpy because Orion's spirit is in he Alex got the sense instead of him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell us about your process of writing the book?
Yeah. So I had been working on the first book for a while. And so when I had originally written that story, it was a young adult book and the characters were much older and the story was a little bit more intense. And I met a mentor through this program called Author Mentor Match, and we worked on this book together. And she told me that the voice was kind of young. So if I wasn't able to find an agent with that book, she suggested that I turn it into a middle grade adventure. And so, like, of course, that happened. I queried agents and I couldn't get an agent with that book. And so I put it on the shelf. And after I signed with my agent and we sold my first young adult book, which is called Blood Debts, I went back to Alex Wise versus the End of the World and I rewrote it as a middle grade and just completely like reimagined everything in the world. And it took a while to put that story together. I think altogether it might have taken me about like a year or two to write the
Okay.
whole story from the very first draft until the last one.
Yeah, well, that's actually not that long because I've met
Mhm.
some authors who take a lot longer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Are there any interesting or memorable experiences that influence into your life, other than the ones you told us about earlier?
hmm Yeah, so like I said, Alex's struggle with in Alex Wise versus the End of the World is his primary struggle is he feels like people don't accept him for who he is, and he feels like he might be queer, he might be gay, and like that creates a lot of tension for him, especially with his father, and he feels like his father doesn't love him because of who he is. And I pulled from a lot of my own personal experiences with that growing up and trying to like figure out who I was and how I fit into the world and also like realizing that a lot of people might not love me because of who I am. And there's a particular part of Alex Wise where he's talking about how his father wanted him to play baseball. He joined Little League and he just
He quit the day after his first game because his father told them that he was embarrassed.
yeah, and and that was an experience that I actually had as a kid. Like I wasn't athletic and I felt like I wasn't good enough for I felt like I wasn't the type of all-American son that my dad wanted. And he put me in Little League, like did not even ask me if I wanted to do it. He just signed me up and I said, okay, because like I was willing to do anything for
To make
him
him
to
proud.
love me. Yeah, to make him proud. And like I tried so hard and I just couldn't do it. And, I actually heard him saying that. And so I didn't have the same ending that Alex got to have at the end of Alex Lives versus the End of the World, where he like kind of came to terms with it. It took me a long while to like come to terms with what happened and like to accept it and move on. And it was painful like having to go back to that memory to relive it and revisit it to put it in the story. But what I'm hoping is that like other kids who might find themselves in a situation similar to what I went through or to what Alex went through, to find strength in Alex's journey and understand that like there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
Even if you're not athletic, you can't do some things, like it does not mean that you're any less of a person or any less deserving of like love and
Yeah.
acceptance, especially from your parents.
What message or theme do you hope readers learn from the book?
Yes. So Alex Wise, this whole trilogy is Alex's journey to becoming a superhero. And it's more than just like his external journey of like getting these cool superpowers and fighting
Also,
villains and monsters, but it's about his internal journey of like how he grows emotionally and mentally and spiritually into becoming this superhero, right? So in the first book, he has to learn like how to love and accept himself to be able to tap into his true power that he gets from Oren. And then in book two, he has to hold on to that while navigating the complex relationships with his friends and family, while also dealing with failure because, we all are going to fail at times in life. And, it's not that we failed, but it's that how we moved on from failure, right?
mm,
And in the last book, which is what I'm working on right now, he has to put all of those lessons together and bring a team together to actually like face off against the final remaining horsemen and stop the apocalypse. And so what I am hoping most of all is that kids will see themselves in Alex and his journey and will understand that they're all deserving of love and that they all can be superheroes too.
yeah. So if you could give one piece of advice to kids who want to become authors or authors who are authors already, what would it be?
Mhm. For my one piece of advice for kids who want to be authors is to never stop reading. Like, just read as much as you can, read as many different stories as you can, and also like write for fun. Like, don't lose the joy of writing. And that's a piece of advice that I would give to authors who are published right now, because it can be easy to like get lost in the business and for it to begin to feel like a chore. But what's most like all like what drew us all to stories is just like the fun and creativity. And like if you lose that, then it comes across in your work. So no matter what, always make sure you hold on to the fun and the joy of creating stories.
Sort of like Alex has to hold on to his powers in the second book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice, at any point in life, what would it be?
So actually, if I could go back in time and give myself any advice, I would actually like pack a box and put all of my published books inside, and I would just go hand them to my younger self, and I would say, read these and pay very, very close attention because I put a lot of my own like life lessons that I've learned through my own experiences into each one of these books and into these characters. And like these are more than just stories. Like every story that I write has a deeper message and a deeper meaning that hopefully will help kids navigate life.
Yeah. What do you enjoy doing for fun other than reading or writing? Because, like you said, you can't lose the joy of reading
Mhm.
or writing.
I love playing video games. I'm a huge, 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 huge gamer. I love like action adventure games. I love survival horror games. Let me see what do I play. I'm a Zelda fan. Definitely a Super Mario fan. I play Dead Space, The Last of Us. And right now I'm playing Rise of the Ronin, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually not familiar with any of them because I haven't ever
Mhm.
played video games in my whole life.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
prefer reading, but we all have our tastes.
Yeah, right. So what are you reading right now?
Well, right now, recently I was reading your book. Who would be your favorite character other than Alex?
Ooh, other than Alex, Liam. Yeah, I love him so much. Like, I'm really drawn to characters who are like kind of grumpy on the outside, but on the inside, they're just like a ball of sunshine.
Mm,
And I just think a lot of those characters are just misunderstood. And Liam is one of those characters. He's very special. And I
yeah.
also wish I could just give him a hug. 'Cause I feel bad for him, even though I wrote it and it's my fault. Like, I feel bad that he spent so much time alone after Paradisum fell and before he met Alex. So I'm really glad that he now has like a group of friends that he can
Yeah.
go on adventures with and can spend time with.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure you might want to like warn him before you give him a hug because he might be like you said, he's like type of person who is like sunshine on the inside, but he might like literally just push you off. And with that strength of his,
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, a little prickly on the outside, right?
Yeah. Um, my favorite character I think would be Mags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Um,
Mags a lot too. If you read the second book, you're gonna get to hear a lot more from Mags too.
more. So are you planning to write more books other than the one that you're currently writing?
hmm So I don't know if there will be any more books in the Alex Y series, although I'm working on the final book right now. It's called Alex Wise versus the Gods of the Apocalypse.
Ooh.
And the way that it ends, no spoilers, but I'll tell you the way that it ends, I leave it open. So, like, we could possibly continue the story, kind of similar to how Rick Riordan continued the Percy Jackson story in the Heroes of Olympus series. Um,
Yeah.
so I leave it a little bit open-ended there.
Oh
And
man. Yeah.
yeah, so hopefully we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think you're gonna write more books. You've written three ginormous books already. I think there's a lot more
Mhm.
ideas left in your brain. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Although I will say, so this is the second book, Alex Lives
Ooh.
versus the Cosmic Shift, and
Oh
it's
yeah, the
shorter.
cosmic shift. He said that there's gonna be a comic shift, is what the gods of apocalypse said.
hmm
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to read that one.
Yeah, I hope you
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Well, I already love this one, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love that one too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, so thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed this interview. Um,
Thank you. This was a great interview, and like I'm so impressed by everything that you're doing. Like being able to like have this channel and interview authors. Like I wish I,
yeah.
I was doing something so cool at your age.